time is 6:33, so I will call the work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, October 14th, 2024 to order. Go through the regular meeting first. The proclamation that we have on there, it will be postponed.
That's all I can sign? Because I can't write right now.
Just scribble with your other hand.
X.
Yeah, X.
Abdul is not going to be able to make it tonight either.
Okay.
He got scheduled to work
Oh, good.
at
Well,
the
you
house.
better have a
Go
lot.
home.
Yeah. And that's
Do you want me to move
unfortunate.
him to the next meeting?
Yeah, go ahead and move him to the 28th and I'll
Okay.
make sure. I'm just glad I touched base with him.
Okey-doke.
And make sure he doesn't-
Then, under new business, we just have the first read for the ordinance to adopt the speed zones. This is something we do every couple of years to allow the police department to do speed detection.
For sure.
And then the contract for the maintenance of the tree saved area. Does anybody have any questions on that? We talked about it a little bit in the pre-meeting.
Just to give folks, sorry, just to give folks just a little background. So when we were building the Grove, the city with our development partner went to great lengths to try to preserve that. We even had a company, Save a Tree, that was tasked to monitor the health of those trees while construction was going on. Now that the majority of, well, not the majority, all of the exterior construction is done, what's left is all the interiors work. It's good for us to transition to the overall health of those trees long term. So this proposal that's before you tonight, Michael Kidd, who's a landscape architect for the Grove, vetted several folks and sent us two proposals that very similar in price. With the less expensive one, but the scope is the same. It involves routine checks, so an arborist report quarterly to let us know how the health of the trees are doing, a pest management component, and some of just the cleanup and mulch and that, and then pruning the canopy. So that's what's involved in all that. I know that you look at it, it looks like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But I don't think anyone in this room would want those trees while you're on your watch to deteriorate because we didn't invest in
Is this
doing
an
something.
annual fee?
So this is just 1 year. Now we can,
Okay.
I'm saying let's go 1 year worth, and then we can decide, if we want to re-up with this company, if we're happy with the way the trees look and the service that we're getting, if we want to go with somebody else or we want to change. Pruning really only needs to happen once every 3 to 4 years. It does not need to be annually. So,
And that's $5,600 of this.
Yeah, that component would be.
And the other thing that was the bigger part of it, the $7,800 part of it, was for them to come in and kind of clear out all the underbrush
Awesome.
and, clean that up and put the mulch down and all of that. So that shouldn't have to happen, after that. It should just be a little bit of weeding and, just keeping things pruned up and looking good. So I would think that this is going to be the higher first year cost.
Was there any discussion about moving the fence in a little bit and building more green on the interior side of the lawn
Right in front of
area?
the fake tree pavilion.
That fence that's there now, you're talking about moving
Moving
that
it back.
closer to the trees or further from the tree?
Closer to the
Closer to
trees.
the
Closer to
trees
more
and having more
usable
green
space.
space,
Yeah.
usable space. We
Because
thought about that with Unity Day.
we set that based on what the trees safe area was to protect the roots. In discussion earlier, it was brought up that we won't really know how the trees have done for 3 to 4 years, so I would say
So
we
leave
hold
it for
off
now.
And
on
you have to
any
be careful.
changes.
Okay.
If you try to push the grass too far under the tree canopy, the grass isn't going to grow
Right.
because it'll be too shaded. But You know, one thing I remember having a conversation with Michael Kidd about way early on in the design process is that potentially after we see how things kind of work out and the topography worked out, that there was a potential for us to come in later and build a little deck under those tree areas to where we could make that usable space without having people walking on the ground and on the roots. So, you know, that's something too that we can always
Yeah, that's
be
a good
thinking
idea.
that's a
about.
great
Good
idea.
idea.
Yeah, to see, you know, it just kind of went way back when we were talking about it, it was so early on and no one really knew what it was gonna look like,
Yeah.
you know?
It makes it usable when it's wet.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So is that component, and then we, you know, we kind of slowed down discussions on the signage, just because we're focusing on, you know, the cricket can and other things, but, you know, that there too, we'll need to find enough space to fit that signage where you don't feel like it's on top of the trees and kind of, so there's, yeah, point well taken is, I mean, usable space, it would be nice to have a little bit more, you know, down there, but,
yeah, but if we did do that, if we did do a deck under there, we couldn't do that crow sign that we were talking about.
You could. It just would be, have to probably either be higher, so people could climb on it, or
But it
more
would be
sturdy.
on
The sign, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it'd be on the
deck.
It'd be on the deck.
I hate the idea of the sign. I
Um,
really, really don't like
So
this.
why don't we, for now, just try to get through the first couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure the trees make it, and then we'll figure
And
it
then we'll
out.
figure it
yeah,
out.
certainly moldable.
Or we might have a lot of green space.
Yeah.
I have all the green space.
The trees don't make it, we'll have lots of green
Again, being
space.
influenced after the Swanee visit to,
Oh, yeah.
well, that green space, I have
Okay, any other questions on that one? Alright, and then we have, I'm putting forth Stephen Brust as a nomination to the Planning Commission. Terry Corey had made quite a few phone calls for me of the people that had submitted applications, and Stephen was one of the ones. There were a couple that were high on his list, so we're moving forward with him. And then another person was on there as well, that we have a opening on the Board of Appeals, so I was going to see if he'd be willing to go on Board of Appeals. And then I think those two boards are full. Good. And we'll let everyone else, because we did actually get a slew of applications in, you know, the last couple of months. We'll send a letter out to everybody to let them know that we filled the positions, but we'll hold their applications. And
And they're not all from Knoxville.
Just most of them.
There's a couple from my neighborhood.
Okay, so that's it for the regular meeting. As far as I know, we don't have anybody for the invocation. And then the pledge, anyone?
Any of us.
I'll take it.
All right, we'll let Brian do it.
Brian.
Who's indicating?
Brian.
Oh,
No.
Brian's doing
Invocating.
the invocation.
I could do one if we don't have anybody out there we can snag. All right, so we did that. Any correspondence? City attorney's report?
Maybe executive session, briefly.
Ongoing projects. Mr. Pepper.
Thank you, Manager. So refer to your project season update handout here. We'll just start with town center construction progress. So we received five bids for the interior build out of the market building for a cricket can. They came, we did have a low bidder, a company called Dooley Mac, that came in below our budget. I have personally not heard of them, but they do a lot of restaurant work, and the architect placemaker is very familiar with them. So we're fortunate that they happen to be the low bidder as well there. So the DDA will, Roger with Midcast will be coming to the DDA meeting on Wednesday to review the bids with the DDA members and answer any questions that they have about it. And we'll ask for them to approve hiring that could do that, to go ahead and lock that in, pending a contract that's approved by the city attorney and authorizing Don to sign that. And supposedly they've done pretty well. Or was it 4 or 5? That's the letters of intent they have for the stalls. You know, if you recall, we originally said, let's go ahead and get the brewery open, and let's work towards that, and then we'll permit these stalls as you kind of get folks, vendors in. That way we're getting you out as quickly as we can, and I guess they've had some success with getting some folks initially. So ideally, what we want to do is to try to permit these 4 or 5 stalls with the rest of the brewing equipment and everything at one time. So if that all works out, and maybe half of their stalls are opening with the brewery, that would be ideal. Just to kind of have that. Now, in talking with Crooked Can, one of the challenges they've had is the brewing equipment. You know, it was originally scheduled to be here, October, November, but now it'll be here by December 30th. So they'll have to install it, after that. So the brewery probably will not be opened until February or so. But that's just it. They put the order in months ago, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. Equipment and things like that. The restaurant plans, the restaurant interior build-out design plans are under review. I believe that they are addressing some comments from the county right now on the Grove Taqueria. I'm not sure about Parkside, but I know they're both under review. So hopefully those will be up and out of permitting soon. So Thursday and Friday programming is going well. We actually have our third Thursday event this Thursday. So we'll have Sam Sabag will be out there again playing music. He's been before, did a fantastic job. We'll have a food truck, and King of Pops will be there, and then our cornhole league will actually be going on too. If you've had a chance to just go out there and watch folks play cornhole, it's pretty fun. Mercy and I actually played not too long ago. We got killed, but it was fun. There was one guy, he was an older guy, and I swear he hit 3 in a row. He was so good. Yeah, he was pitching against Mercy, so it made me feel better, because he was awesome at it. So, we have been very pleased with the participation we've got with cornhole, that I think that we are seriously considering renewing for another season. We've got a lot of committed folks who, and when we were out there, Mercy and I kind of talked to folks a little bit about, what made you decide to sign up and that sort of thing. And a lot of folks are just looking for a place to kind of hang out. One family had kind of moved here recently and was trying to meet people. And this is kind of an easy, casual way, to meet people. And you get a lot of comments of like, man, it'd be great if you had beer here. Like, yeah, we know that. I mean, we're working on that. This clearly is not the end. So we are going to continue to workshop little things like that, minor activation. I mean, for the city to sponsor those teams is only $500. I mean, really kind of a minimal cost to get folks out there and get them in the habit of coming out. I think most of the folks that I talked to were not residents of Snellville. They actually lived in Loganville and Grayson, other places, but this was the closest place that they could come to play cornhole. So, and just their presence. I mean, just showing folks out there. So it's kind of fun to watch people play cornhole, and then people kind of trickle out from the Tallman and walk around, and it's kind of a neat experience to finally see those renderings that you guys saw 5 years ago, people using the Grove, and there's actually people out there using the Grove.
Yeah. Thursday will be neat because we have business after hours on the deck.
Okay, excellent.
And all of this stuff will be going on.
Excellent. And then, so not this Friday, but the next Friday, we'll have our Halloween, kind of movie night out there. We'll be showing Hocus Pocus, which we've been told is a crowd pleaser. And what Mercy's been talking with businesses about kind of being locations for trick-or-treaters to kind of come and get some candy and just then come watch the movie and all that. So just have that on your calendar, as well, if you feel so inclined. Join us. So this Thursday and the next Friday. Sidewalk improvement. So AT&T pole relocation, I mentioned before, it's stalled because of the strike, and now I think it's stalled because they're doing hurricane, clean up other infrastructure from Milton and Eileen. So I will be in touch with them. Well, when I hear from them, exactly when they'll be out, I'll let everybody know. Comcast has done their part. They finished that last month, so now it's just AT&T, working at AT&T to get their final work done. Nothing new on beautification, sanitation, cleanup. So input on development zoning guidelines. We'll talk about this the next item, but staff is working on proposed amendments to the UDO. Several of those that were mentioned by Mayor Pro Tem Warner last week. And we'll go over a little more in depth, like I said, in the next few minutes. But that is happening. Package sales implementation, Chuck, anything?
Our brief's due on the 20th, and then they'll have 20 days to respond, and then the Board of Appeals has 6 months to rule.
Wow.
This takes forever.
Speed process.
I'll be filing my withdrawal next week.
Who's going to take that over, Tony or Jay?
Jay's already been kind of leading that anyway, so Tony, I'll be withdrawing, Tony will be adding into it, but Jay's already, like I said, he's been the lead on that, with that anticipation.
Thanks, Chuck. So Briscoe Park progress, GMC's still working on the design documents and bid documents and things. So just to update you all on funding. So we heard from Gwinnett County, they're going to award us between 15 to 16% of our ask. And we asked for $6 million because that was the funding that we had between what sources we knew we had and what the estimated build out was, cost to build out by GMC. So that is in the range of $900,000 to $1 million, which, to put that in perspective, may not sound like a lot on its surface, but I think they said they're getting maybe $5 million this year. So they're giving $1 million of it to us. Out of $5 million we're very grateful. That is a big amount of money to give towards one project. So we appreciate the value that they see in what we're trying to do here. In talking with Congresswoman McBath's office, the latest numbers that we heard that they put in the congressional bill was $3 million. They're now with congressional bills.
Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of different conversations that happen in between members of Congress on those kind of bills. So, it may get cut down from $3 million to $1 million. I mean, I don't know, but there again, if that does go through, that's $4 million of funding from grants. That is, there again, very grateful, for that. That'd be fantastic. So, just want to make sure that if this, and I had this with CDBG, if we ultimately decide that this project is it's too much for us to take on financially right now, we can get that money back. They've confirmed that.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll take it back. So we're not on the hook for that $1 million. They would just take it and redistribute it to other folks. So if this congressional money somehow is significantly cut, the only option that Mercy and I have been able to find in our research is that we would do a construction loan. With GMA, we kind of talked about the brick and mortar program before. Basically what you would do, we would ask GMA to issue an RFP on our behalf to acquire a loan with a bank. The interest rates that they're seeing right now are in between 3.5% and 4%. So, are you all comfortable paying to that? I mean, the loan amount that we would need, maybe anywhere between $4 to $5 million if that congressional spending gets cut or doesn't happen. Are you all comfortable with that over a 20-year time frame? Maybe we could work it in that we could have a buyback clause or a prepaid clause where we could try to pay that off early, or does that give you trepidation where you'd rather not? You'd rather wait?
Just to clarify, if we're paying back the loan, we would be able to designate future SPLOST proceeds to pay on that, correct?
I would assume so. I mean, that's what we're doing with the the bonds we have now.
3 to 4%, I have no problem.
It's just that in the meantime, because right now, this loss that we've got now is totally spent
Right.
just
Mhm.
in that 12 million.
Yeah.
That'll be gone. So it's not like we're guaranteed lost revenue coming forward to make those payments. So we've got to be prepared to make those payments out of the general fund. Which may mean no tax rollback next year or even a potential slight increase to help, depending on how the valuations shake out next year. Or, the new stuff coming online is certainly going to help, but, we're just going to have to see. I mean, it's given me pause. Matt and I have talked about it. I've had a little bit of a pause if we're going to wind up the congressional money, there's just no idea on whether it's coming or not. And then, what did I say? I knew I should have printed that amortization schedule. If we did like $4 million, how much was it, Lawyer?
I don't know, I don't want to tell people I don't remember, but we can send that out too.
Yeah, we can send you out what the annual payments would be on that size at that interest rate.
I want to say, no, I said that once. I want to say it's probably like 15,000 a month, something like that.
300 or 400,000 a year or something.
But we'll send that out to folks to
I can remember that.
At
You know.
5%, 20 years, it would be 26,000. At 4%,
For how much of a loan?
4 million.
And if the congressional money comes through, then I think we're looking at funding that, in the $2 million to $3 million range. More manageable there.
And then once we, are able to do something with the BB&T property and get some money back from that property, we can pay the loan down off.
Then if we hold off on the park project, then how much more is it gonna cost us later?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's, that's all.
I know, it's just a balancing act, really.
And just, I don't live in this world, so I'm kind of relying on the expertise of GMC, but just from what the conversations we've had in their most recently kind of bid projects, we're what, year 2 into the 23 SPLOST. We really only a little over a full year of that. I mean, the rate at which construction pricing is increasing, I mean, to wait for another SPLOST to catch up,
Right.
you're just the rate, you're not going to catch up. Not to put pressure on it, but in a lot of ways, financially, it is kind of now or never, right? I mean, unless the next council is willing to commit a big chunk of SPLOST, which could be smaller if new cities come online or change, or if it doesn't pass. I mean, there's a possibility that voters may not vote for it, and that would be tough for a lot of cities financially to complete projects and things, but that is a possibility.
Because remember too, in what our budgeted number here, or in that 18 million, we pared back on some of that external stuff.
Yeah.
And reduce the size of the building.
Yeah.
We did.
And that's not getting like the full outdoor package part of it, all done, but.
Then I will tell GMC that we are still full speed ahead, and let's get some bids. I mean, you don't really know where you are until you get bids, and then you can really kind of see, man, this is, GMC did a good job estimating, or something that we're not seeing that's driving up pricing there. All right, so North Wisteria project, so we received 13 bids. I have never been a part of a project that received 13 bids. And what's even more interesting about that is the spread for those 13 bids. The lowest was $2 million, the highest was $3 million. So for 13 bids within $1 million of each other, that is, in my experience, I've never seen that. Usually you have a few throwaway bids that are just numbers that are way beyond what the median folks are because they're just throwing numbers out. So, and kind of Larry talking with folks, I guess this bid kind of went out before GDOT's, a lot of GDOT's projects. So a lot of folks are looking for these smaller projects to fill the time before GDOT releases their slate of projects for the coming year. Why that's significant is because this is North Road, and we are typically county maintained and owned roads. There's certain GDOT pre-qualifications that they're required to meet. So all the bidders that submit bids are GDOT pre-qualified folks. And so that's why they watch GDOT projects pretty closely, whereas others may not, that work on more locally owned and funded projects. So needless to say, we were going to try to have it on this agenda for you guys to approve a contractor. But I told her, I said, you need to really look at these bids.
There's a lot of bids.
Yeah, really look at these, 13. It's not uncommon for contractors to make honest mistakes in their quantities and things like that. And so you really need to kind of comb through, the 2 or 3 lowest bidders and really look at their bid to make sure they've got everything that we required in the bid and everything adds up and that sort of stuff. And he sent an email today to the low bidder with about 10 questions on it. I need you to answer all of these, to make sure. So he's working on that, which is great. That sewer connection I've been telling you all about is that design is still underway, there.
And that wasn't included in this bid.
No, the reason why was we did not know that at the time that, I guess we'd assumed that the United Community Bank was on the sewer, on the county sewer line, but it's actually a septic tank. We did not realize that.
And where are we on the easements?
So we've made some good progress on the easements. We've got 2 so far. We've got 2 more that people are reviewing, and then I've got 3 more that I'm putting my stamp on to get approved and signed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's going to be probably 2 or 3 that we're just going to have to condemn.
Yeah.
It's just funny because I remember 2 years ago, Butch sitting here saying,
I
I'm
know.
this close.
He told me he had them.
I think in his mind he did, but I think it.
And then Matt took over and said, no, we don't have any of them.
So I'm not laughing at you.
No, I know. And this has taken a long time. I mean, I'll just share one thing I've learned from this experience. When property tax bills come out, property is worth nothing. When I need right away, it's worth $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's the debate
That
you
all
have
makes
people back and
sense.
forth, on this is what is really fair. At the end of the day. But I think we've gotten to the point where Matt has said what he thinks is fair, and that's what he's saying is fair. We've got to either we're taking that or we're not taking that. If we're not taking that, then I've got a friend that we need to talk with, and we're going to move forward with that, with the eminent domain process. Now, I will tell you that that process when the ball gets to be rolling on that, it will not slow down the project. That we take ownership of that property almost immediately. And there's a lot of the back end stuff that you have to do, but it won't stop us from moving forward with one property owner can't hold out and say, well, I'm just going to wait for the domain process to go through, and you can't do your project. That's impossible to happen. So. Anyway, and traffic calming, so that project is complete. It's done. So now it's just the monitoring, keeping our eye on things to see if intervention long term. Now I don't want to jinx myself and put something out in the universe, but I'm going to tempt fate. I have not received a single call from anyone saying that my tire's busted or broken axle on your stupid islands, whatever. Which I'm very surprised and I may regret it tomorrow if I get a phone call. But I don't know if it just means that the signage is good or that the folks that do cut through saw these things in progress over the last few months and just know it's coming and they're there. But I think I've just been surprised. that now I know that, you know, we've had some issues with folks parking and other things that we do need to address. You
Yeah.
know, well, that is not,
It's all the houses on Tanglewood down beyond us that have very steep driveways, people parking in the street,
yeah,
in the islands
yeah.
that are causing problems.
Yeah, that's the trouble, because that makes them impassable, you know,
Yeah.
and then you're risking safety by going on the other side where an oncoming car can. So,
The only redeeming thing is at least that's down at the further end where it's a limited number of people.
Quit having those
Yeah.
10 state
But that's a
watch
pretty,
parties.
fairly busy area of the street down.
down there. And then just the last thing, it's not in my report, but just, well, I guess two things. Just February 1st is what we're kind of targeting for our retreat. So if you don't mind looking at your calendars, it's a Saturday. We would go back down to GMA's headquarters in Atlanta. Michael McPherson would be our moderator again, who's been with us a few years, does a good job, kind of knows what we've been talking about for the last couple of years. But please look at your calendars, let us know. He's put us in for that day. We go down there in the morning, and we have breakfast down there, and then, you know, obviously lunch, and be down there basically from about 8 to 4. We'll kind of, 4 is about when I think we've all reached our limit for the day of discussion. What we've typically done in the past, and I think what we want to try to do again, if it works for everybody's schedule-wise, is to have kind of a special work session where we would, you know, hear from the department directors and things. I feel like that's beneficial for everybody. It kind of takes less pressure off Saturday and frees up a lot of time to actually discuss things you heard from the department directors. You know, I think our department directors are a little less nervous when we're in our own environs too, and you know, you're kind of just talking amongst friends, so to speak, and kind of get some questions answered. And if there are things that we can prepare in the meantime between that and February 1st, that gives staff time to get information gathered up. So when the discussion is taking place, you've got the full information of what you need. So, you know, we started that a few years ago. I think there's a lot of benefits for that. If that's something that you all feel is beneficial and can work in your schedules, then I'd ask you to consider that again this year.
I know we don't have any newly electeds this year, but I feel like from a home interviews, that really helped me understand what I was walking into.
Yeah.
Going into the retreat, having that earlier work session.
Well, we might wind up doing two.
Two
I mean,
retreats.
2 work sessions before we get to the retreat, just depending on what all we come up with.
Yeah.
Because it was helpful, with the first time we did that, it was really helpful on some topics that you just need a lot of data and information, you know, to really get your hands around what the issue was, and then, so that we weren't trying to figure it all out and understand it, you know, down there, so,
You need to come up with solutions all in one day.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. So what I'll do is I'll look at compiling just a list of retreat topics, you know, some of the ongoing things that we've talked about before, and I'll send that out to everybody. And if there's additional topics you'd like to add to the agenda, just email me and we'll add them to it. That way, you know, we'll feel like everybody's items are addressed, you know, on there. And if there's things that in one of these work sessions that we need to discuss, that comes from that, we can always put that on the agenda as well. And then just the second thing is really just an opportunity for us to kind of, for me to put a thought in your head to think about kind of potential solution. We had an issue with a resident at the recycle center today on yard waste, where, so, you know, our recycle guys do the best they can at trying to enforce the rules in a way that is you know, productive and helpful, while still, you know, dealing with the folks that no matter what you say to them, we're going to bite your head off, and to smile at them and have, you know, good customer service skills, you know, that can be hard to to possess when you've been out there all day and it's hot, and you've explained it 20 times to folks. But one of the challenges that we've encountered, and we've mentioned this before, is, we get a lot of these yard waste companies that come in that, may bring yard waste from a resident, but they may also have yard waste from 3 or 4 other jobs, that aren't residents, where it's just becoming, a burden on our folks, and a high cost for us to chip all of that, when really the intent is for residents to be able to bring their yard waste, and not really subsidizing, businesses' expenses by using our facilities for free. And so, we talked several months ago about kind of just saying, we're just not going to accept, businesses anymore coming in, to dump yard waste from these, just who knows, from all over. We had yard waste companies, forging documents saying this is from a resident, and we know it's not, and all that sort of thing. So, we had an incident today where, the resident told me, well, he's not our yard waste company, he's our handyman that was helping us. Came in, and the handyman showed his ID. Wasn't a city resident, I don't believe, and so they got turned away. Long story, got turned away. So obviously the resident was upset by that. Because it got turned away. The husband was in the car and was like, "I'm a resident. Why can't I come in and kind of dump my yard waste?" So we need to figure out a way, to if possible, to separate the folks that are taking advantage of us from the folks that are legitimately, this couple were 80 and 77. So yeah, the expectation of folks that age to be able to bring large debris to a recycle center physically, it's probably unreasonable. Not probably, it is unreasonable to do that. But finding that balance of these folks that are just taking advantage of us from the folks that aren't is difficult. So what I'm saying is I'm open to ideas from you all as to how we address this. And this isn't the first instance where we have trouble. This is kind of the first instance that got escalated to a council member, to a former council member / mayor who, took it upon themselves to make it right, which is not what we want as staff, and we don't need other folks intervening and that sort of stuff. But it's proven to be a challenge, and I'm not at this point, but I'm as this continues, it almost feels like we just don't even allow it. We just focus on recycling, which is the true point of Recycle Center, is that you're coming to recycle and not bring your debris and junk. But I'm not saying I'm coming to you asking you to do that, but I don't know a better way.
So you're thinking of eliminating all yard debris?
Well, in my weak moments, I'm saying, when I get the phone calls, I hit the phone.
That's the easy solution,
phone
just say,
saying,
hey, look, we're having too much trouble with this, we're just gonna eliminate it, because
I'm tired of David's guys to deal with, I'm tired of the fighting.
It's to the point of being violent at times.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
It was very unpleasant morning for some of us, right, David?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, it's challenging. Go ahead, Margaret, go ahead.
David, so give us an idea, is it being used a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people are
Yeah, a
still.
lot of residents use it like it should. But then we still have the landscapers. They may live in the city, but the rule is no business. So they're a landscaper coming in there saying, oh, I'm not a landscaper, this is coming from my house. Well, I know the address, I go by the house, it's not coming from there to be a trailer full of stuff. And they come and visit the recycle center 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh, geez.
So that's a lot of
It's
debris.
excessive.
And just the amount, it looks like we've really cut the amount a lot. And just by what we've already done, trying to stop the businesses. And that was the respect of what we went after, is because our rules for the recycle center for the junk container and the yard debris is no businesses.
Right.
And so a landscaper, a handyman, that is a business. He may not be licensed, he should be, but that is a business still.
But if the property owner is in the car, the vehicle, that should, I thought when we discussed it previously, if they did that, they were gonna be good.
We're having property owners coming with people bringing other people's
Okay.
stuff. We're having people put stuff on Facebook that they will go to the recycle center with you for a fee.
Oh, gosh.
They live in the city. I haven't been
gosh.
able to find it. My guys at the recycle center have seen it. But if I could get a clip of it, who has seen it, but that ad keeps getting pulled down.
The only other solution that quickly comes to mind is to require people to, which is just stupid, show a before and after picture. If you trimmed your bushes, take a picture of your damn house before, show us an after, you bring the stuff, good.
It
Which,
seems like a bit of a hassle.
it is, but
Yeah.
well, it is, but we're offering something for free that nobody else
And the
does.
guys at the recycle should have the authority, in a sense, to turn people away that aren't doing things properly, the way our rules state. But they get hit with a force when they try to do that.
Is there an opportunity to limit by volume, i.e. the equivalent of the
They
back of a
say
pickup
about a
truck?
pickup truck load,
Okay.
but then we've got
But
people
that's per
coming in with
day.
a trailer fully loaded and want to try and do that, and they don't mind paying the extra $15 and all, because it's gonna cost them 80 something to take it to the landfill or the, anywhere else to get rid of.
So I mean, I think, you got a couple options.
You start charging everybody.
You start charging everybody, you start charging what the landfill charges, so then the competition isn't there.
But then we've got
Or
a
more
cash
than
flow
landfill.
issue and a manpower issue, because
Yeah.
we'll be getting everything around.
Well, and then we'll also have a lot more illegal dumping because there are people who
Sure.
will just
Pay.
pull in behind.
South
I
Crestview.
mean,
Someplace
fortunately,
and
we
dump it
haven't
out.
had a tremendous amount since we instituted this. I think the flock cameras around have helped to deter some of that. But I mean, all in all, I was expecting stuff everywhere. Unfortunately, we haven't had as much.
So I think you got that, or you could limit it to say you can only bring yard waste once a week, so that it's not every day, so that.
One pickup load a week,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, I mean,
that's kind of-
it's a brainstorm idea.
It's kind of reasonable for
You know,
trimming your bushes.
maybe if there's a big
Well,
storm
the
or
problem
something that
is-
changes, because people's stuff
Like-
maybe for a hurricane or whatever.
I took over
Yeah.
my house in Turf Terrace and I could fill up 18 truckloads full. And if I go out there and work hard and get this huge mound of stuff and I can only take one truckload of it in a week, what ends up happening is then I have this huge pile of crap that then code enforcement may get involved and everything else. So it's a
Right.
cascading issue.
All right.
We can move on.
Yeah,
But just
we
be
need to
thinking
put that
about
there.
that, please, and we're gonna do our best. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, that's
all.
okay. We got a little bit of time for the EEO stuff, and then we just need.
Well,
a few
Jason's
minutes
not
for the-
here. I sent out a email to everybody with just some of the ideas that I could remember. Because I know a lot of things have come up over the course of a year that need to be addressed. A lot of them ticky-tacky minor stuff. But if anybody has anything to add to that list, or wants to discuss anything on that list, I assume everybody read the email. If you want me to go through it, I will, but it's just more of y'all's time. So how would you like to handle it? And again, Jason's not here, so I don't know. But
Maybe we need to wait for him.
I can just say on behalf of Jason, I mean, Todd, Jason and I have talked, we've got the list that Todd sent everyone, but if you have that, and Jason is gonna work on that, to make those amendments. So at the next meeting, we can follow up in 2 weeks on that progress, and Jason can give the full list to everybody, if you'd rather do that.
I'm fine with that, because there's nothing that will be able to be affected at this point, really. Because my issue is, we know there's a couple of projects that have been floating out there in the ether. The Snellville Oaks redevelopment, and also Maxey Price there at Grayson Parkway and 78. And if we don't have our rules tightened up and locked down, then these people are going to develop based on what they believe our rule is. I think I speak for council that our intent when we did the UDO on townhomes was to have a street out front and then back to an alleyway. So we would have the street to be able to be for overflow or visitor parking. Also, we want the visuals from our streets to be attractive. We're trying to build walkable communities, and garage doors don't build that. And the interpretation that our staff took away from that is, well, no, that isn't really what it says. Well, that's what I believe we intended. We need to get that cleared up. And then the other stuff is some minor things, like if you have a dumpster enclosure, they're fabulous for holding large quantities of waste and a truck to come and empty it, but people have to open the gate to get in and they never close the gate. And we have an issue up here in the Grove where we ended up with now a double dumpster in the middle of a parking lot in an area that we worked very hard to make sure that all of that stuff would be hidden away and out of. And now we have not only a double dumpster corral, but it has no way to get in and out other than opening up the huge gates. So since it's being used for dropping just bags of garbage, they need a door that they can open up and go in other than the big swing gate that no one ever closes. Because if I drive by there one more time and see
It's always open.
it
You just-
open again
you know it's-
and the trash,
Yeah.
it's always open. The one behind the library is always
It's always
open too.
open.
And these are things that were a great concern to us in the design phase, and it really should be carried over throughout the city, because whether it's the Quick Trip at Rockdale Circle in 78, or every business in the city, when the employees go out to throw the trash away, they open up the gates, they leave them open, which just negates the whole purpose of having a dumpster corral at all, because you see all the junk.
Yeah.
And it also is an invitation to anybody driving by to say, oh, look, I'll go junk my stuff there.
I'm thinking for the townhomes and all of that, I'm thinking to me, the better thing to do is gonna be for us just to get together one night, maybe spend an hour. We can actually put up the pictures and the stuff from the UDO specifically related to the townhomes, and see if everybody here is agreeable with that or what changes need to be made. And as a council then decide how we want things to go forward so that we don't run into those problems.
Right.
But I think that's better than us trying to do something, quick and in a work
Yeah,
session.
and I agree, which is why I said we don't have to do it tonight.
Yeah.
Um,
So we'll come up with a night that we can get together and just do a little work session just on those UDO things. Because I'd like to see it, really have the UDO portions in there, especially on the townhome stuff, because I know, when we were passing all of that stuff, it was just so much all at once. And now that we've got some things on the ground, we can, and I think staff is just looking for what our direction and our idea is. We just need to make sure we convey it and make sure that's what's stated in the UDO.
Yeah, we just need to make sure it's clear,
Yeah,
because if it's not clear, then we need to provide clarity.
exactly.
Great.
Okay. All right, so we'll do exec session. Potential litigation.
7:01 already. How time flies.
This is a little bit different. I'm not looking at it like that.